Hey guys, Al with Big Buildings Directs. Back again, and this time what we're gonna be reviewing is upgrades for your building, and then also we're gonna walk inside and check out the interior and go over that. So first thing I wanna review is the siding. We've talked about in other videos. You can do the vertical or horizontal. Vertical siding is gonna be an upgrade because of those hat channels like we've talked about. Another thing is that wainscot, which we include no additional cost on horizontal siding. Vertical, it is an additional upgrade. Another thing to consider, color matching your screws, which, you know, it does look good when you're walking around. You don't really notice them compared to your standard silver, you know, screws there. Here we got walk-in doors. They're 36 inches by 80 inches. They're your standard right-hand swing doors. We can always do a custom frame out where we cut out those exact dimensions you need. If you have a double door in mind, a glass door, something that we don't offer, our installers actually frame those out on site. So you'll be able to tell them exactly where you want those day of install. Same with windows. Those are gonna be 24 inches by 36 inches. They open up vertically, your standard white grid windows. Let's head on inside, check out some other stuff that we got going on. Inside here, this is actually a 40-foot wide center structure with two 15-foot wide lean-tos. Any structure that's over 30-foot wide is gonna be considered a commercial building, which you really see the price jump up about $2 a square foot more once we get up to commercial. Biggest thing to consider is if you're over 12 foot high, which we recommend if you're doing a car lift, since our buildings are on a 312 pitch, is that anything over 30 foot wide, you may have to be zoned commercial for, but also any structure over 30 foot wide, you're gonna have to provide a forklift for, which we recommend a 7K series low lift. And what that is for our installers, I mean, these truss systems are heavy, and anything taller than 12 foot, it's a little too tall for our installers to be getting up there on ladders with. So you would be responsible for providing that for our installers. Well, let's go over here and take a look at our truss system. This is the skeleton of your building, which is comprised of a 2.5 inch by 2.5 inch 12 gauge galvanized steel tubing. This comes with a 20-year rust warranty. That is an upgrade from the 14 gauge, which is industry standard. That has a 7-year rust warranty. I always recommend the 12 gauge, especially if you live in, you know, a place that has a lot of snow, but you get 13 years worth of additional warranty for the rust, and it's just a stronger building. I mean, on commercial buildings like this, it's considered a ladder leg truss system. As you can see, it's just like a ladder, which people ask me, Al, can you hang a deer carcass off this? Can I put a motor up there? There's nothing in the manual, but I'm 190 pounds of American steel, and as you can see, I'm standing on this no problem. Up here, we got our windows. They're 2 foot wide by 3 foot high. It's a good option. They're $200 each. Just get some ambient lighting in. We can frame them out once we're on site. So you'll be able to tell our installers exactly where you want those day of install. All right, moving on to our siding here. Like we talked about in the last video, you can either have vertical or horizontal siding. Here we have the vertical siding. The reason it is an upgrade is because you have these additional hat channels and bracing that do add to the structural integrity of the building. A lot of it's for aesthetics, but that's why it's an upgrade, is these additional hat channels that run horizontally. Moving on to here, this is a garage door frame out, which we only sell the manual roll-up doors. They're the kind that ball up like a carpet above your opening. This client, they added their own electric door, which half of our clients do. What we do in that instance is called a frame out, where we cut out the exact dimensions you need. You know, if you got an RV, the tallest it can be is 13 foot 6 inches to drive down the highway. So we suggest either a 14 or a 12 foot tall door. Measure whatever you're planning on putting in here. We'll make sure we got a big enough opening. But if you're doing a car lift, one thing to consider is if you're doing an electric door, you lose some overhead space. So the electric doors, they're good if you have electricity set up, but a lot of our clients, the roll-up doors, you don't have to run electricity to. If the power ever goes out, not a problem. So. All right, so since we're in a barn, you have a lot of options on how to customize this to fit your needs. What we have in this instance is called a frame out. So we could do a partition wall here, so you can have basically your own separate room, whether it be you know, some storage, a workshop, something like that, storing ATVs, motorcycles like we got here. But in this instance, we have what's called a frame out, where we take the load-bearing base rail, that's what equally distributes the weight of your building, and we remove it, and move it up to what's called a header bar. That equally distributes the weight of your building so the structural integrity is still intact. And it gives you a lot more room just to walk around freely, move bikes, cars, etc., just to give it a more open feel. We can customize this to do a partition wall, frame outs like this, because normally gonna be spaced out. These truss systems, which are 2.5 inches by 2.5 inches, are gonna be every 4 or 5 foot on center, depending on where you live. So it is something to consider if you wanna be able to move around freely within your barn. Frame outs are a great option. All right, so we're outside of the lean-to right now. This is my favorite part of the building. This is where we have cookouts, we throw out the grill, picnic area, and just good old times by the fire. A few ways to dress up your lean-to. There's gonna be a gable end cover, which goes on the end. It just helps cover up the building to match the exterior of your center structure. The next option would be what are called Dutch corners. They're 45-degree angles that go on your frame outs. They just help dress up the building. They're about $100 each, but it's something to consider if you've got an HOA or trying to dress the building up, that are inexpensive and look good. All right, so in this video, we went over the interior building, different upgrades, lean-tos. We covered a lot of information. If there's any questions, give myself or another big building specialist a call. I'll be more than happy to answer any of your questions. In the next video, we're gonna wrap everything up, and we're looking forward to seeing you then.
We've been dancing round the signs, caught